Today I'm sharing with you the goal setting system that has never failed me. In fact, I've been using this goal setting system for close to 10 years now to set up, track, and achieve countless goals. So I want to share that with you today, and remember that there is no one size fits all when it comes to goal setting systems, techniques, or tools. So take what works for you, leave what doesn't, adjust it accordingly for yourself, but most importantly, find something that you can be consistent with, something that you enjoy and that you want to go back with, because if you don't want to refer to it consistently and regularly, then it's not going to work for you. Now, as much as execution is important to achieving your goals, I think that systems and habits and routines, tracking and visibility plays a really big part in setting yourself up for success. I truly believe that if I didn't have the system that I'm about to share with you today, I wouldn't have such a high success rate with achieving my goals. So without further ado, let's get into step one. Number one is to define your life categories. Your life categories are essentially different aspects or areas of your life for which you wish to have goals. Before jumping into really specific granular goals, I want you to step back and think about the season of life that you are in and what are the overarching themes that you want to focus on for the upcoming year. You could have a few categories, you could have a dozen. It's about what you feel is right for you. For me, for example, I have quite a few categories because this is how my brain functions. I need to write down every aspect of my life to make sure I can see everything that I, as this multifaceted human being, is made up of. And I also want to make sure I'm investing in each of those areas, not every area I'm investing in the same way, because 2025 for me may not be the year for my career. Maybe it's the year for my fitness and health goals. Maybe I smashed my career goals because I focused on that last year. It just helps me think about what themes of life am I really, really wanting to be intentional with. So for me at the moment, the breakdown of my life categories: fitness, health, business, which includes career, wealth, personal relationships, fun, personal development, and then I've got medium, which is 2 to 3 year goals, and then I also have mini challenges, which I will talk about later. I think something interesting can happen when you start to write down these categories of your life. I don't think it's very often where we sit down and actually think about all of the different areas which make up our life, right? And when you go through this exercise and you're simply writing down, okay, what are the big pieces in my life pie, you, through that exercise, may realize the areas you have been neglecting or the areas you have been going really hard in and investing in. So maybe it's time to focus a little bit on something else. Some aspects of your life may be thriving, whereas others you haven't given any attention to. So yeah, so they're not flourishing. I think it's just a really good exercise to open up your mind to where your intention and focus has been. I will add that sometimes I change my life categories from year to year. So for example, at some point I had business and I think work as 2 separate categories. But over the last 12 to 18 months, those have kind of morphed into one for me, because I realized for me, work, i.e. what I used to refer to as my 9 to 5, and building my business, it's one and the same because it's who I am as a professional. So it's been really interesting to see those 2 things change. For me, health and fitness have always been very distinct categories. I can still focus on my health without having a fitness goal or without being super active, and vice versa as well. So that's the way in which I found this to be a really useful exercise. You might find that you want to blend stuff together, you want to break stuff apart. It's just interesting to see what comes out of it. Number 2, brain dump your goals. Now, as much as we are setting up a beautiful system here, we're not quite there yet. We are not fully set up. So the next step, we are just dumping anything and everything that comes to mind around what we think we want to achieve in the next year. Think of this as like the capturing phase. And also think about this as, what if I didn't have limitations? What if time and money and energy, like things that we typically hold ourselves back with, let all of that go, just use this as a very free-flowing brainstorming exercise and see what comes out. Don't worry, we are not committing to these goals. We are, again, just brain dumping, but I think there is truly power and some magic in letting these things simmer. Write them down and you'll be surprised at how many other things that might spark. It might also prompt you to take action earlier because you jotted down that you potentially wanted to do something. Maybe it's stuck in your subconscious brain and you can't stop thinking about it. So then you end up going to do the research to start the thing. Maybe you want to do a half marathon, or you end up getting a half marathon training plan. Maybe you go for a run. Whereas if you didn't do this thing and you waited until you actually solidified that goal, and then maybe you realize, actually, I don't think I want to do this. Writing things down in a very loose, casual way can just connect dots and spark actions in ways that you didn't expect. But yeah, basically here I'm talking about simmering. Let your thoughts simmer around the things that you believe you want to pursue in the next year. I think there is something also very beautiful about thinking in a limitless way. We are so used to thinking within the bounds of things, bounds of time, money, resources, energy, right? So imagine what it is you could do if you weren't bound by those things. So give yourself the permission to think as freely as you can and write down goals for each of the categories that you listed in the first step. Okay, my brainstorming is literally, I don't want to show them, but it's literally like a brain dump on this piece of paper. I'm not going to show you, but it's literally, it's scribbles on this piece of paper. And I wrote this about a week ago and I haven't looked at it since. But I know the things that I remember that I wrote down, and then there are the things I wrote down that I don't remember. And it's making me ponder, if I don't even remember those things that I thought I wanted, even if it was a week ago, do I really want them? And then since then, I've also come up with some new things that I think I maybe want to pursue. So I'm going to finish this exercise hopefully later today, but just jot it down, make it casual, make it easy for yourself, and see what comes of it. Step number 3 is to set up a tracking system. Now, this is where we really get into the system and the tools and the techniques and the practicality of putting our goals down and committing to them and revisiting them regularly. So for me personally, I use Notion as my preferred goal tracker. It's actually my life tracker. It is my digital life, but one page in my Notion is dedicated to my goals. You can use whatever tool you like, but for me, I find a Kanban board works really well. I originally used to use Trello years and years ago, and then I transferred that over to Notion, but even now I just have a basic Kanban board with a few different columns and different statuses, which I will go over shortly. Like I said before, I think the most important thing when it comes to your tracking system is that it is accessible for you. It is low barrier. So you're not having to go through this massive learning curve of learning a new tool just for this purpose. And that you like the tool, that you actually gravitate towards wanting to use it. So for me, for example, I live in Notion. I have my Notion always open on my laptop, on my phone. It is saved on my home screen. It is just always open for me because I have my whole life in Notion. And so it makes it very easy for me to constantly see my goals in front of me. It's not something that I have to go out of my way to access and look at. Notion is also something that is very integrated into my daily life and my daily workflow. So think about what that is for you. If it's your notes app on your phone, totally fine. If it's a spreadsheet or if it's Notion, it doesn't matter. The purpose of this is to have somewhere where we can really write down what our goals are, when we want to achieve them, how we are tracking towards them, making it visible for us, and just having a place that we can call our goals homepage. Now, the reason I love using a Kanban board is because it is visual. I have gone through phases of writing my goals down in a list, but I find that when I can see something actually moving, which a Kanban board, you can move things across columns, or you can change the status, you can change the colors, you can really customize it. For me, I'm a visual person, so I really enjoy that aspect of it. And then I really like that I can very easily customize the views of a Kanban board as well. So rather than just having a board with 4 columns, maybe I can filter that board, maybe I can set up different views to sort the board and the cards on that board. I can play around with it. I can put it on a calendar and see what it looks like. It gives me a lot of control to get different views that I might want at different points in time, and I really value that personalization and that flexibility. Now, the other thing which you can easily do on pen and paper as well is I fundamentally believe in making sure your goals are still aligned with you throughout the year and not being afraid to deprioritize or remove or change your goals at any point in time should they no longer align with you. And having a digital system makes that super easy, and doing it in Notion, it's just so effortless. And being the perfectionist that I am, I don't always want to have like my nice list of goals that then I have to cross out. So yeah, again, it's just something that works really, really well for me. Here is a glance at my Notion goal setting Kanban board. As you can see, I have each of my categories. I have blocked out what my specific goals are. Hopefully you can understand that. At the top, which is the cover, I usually stick my vision board. And yes, I do a vision board, absolutely. Will I be sharing the process for how I do that with you? No, I think it is pretty straightforward, and there are a million videos on the internet about it, so go and watch one. But yes, highly recommend doing a vision board. But yeah, this is my Kanban board. I've got each column is a category of my life. So each card is a goal, and the different fields that I have on each card, the category of life, which is how the card gets split into each column. I've got tags, which is for me just another way for me to categorize my goals. So if something spans multiple categories of life, I just sometimes like having that breakdown, and also with the filtering and sorting that you can do on Notion, sometimes I add additional labels. It's totally optional. My favorite field is the status. These are the statuses I currently have. I also tweak these once in a while, but a lot of my goals will stay in progress for a long time. But I also enjoy having a label that says on track, which comes in useful when I do my regular check-ins, and we'll talk about that soon. I have a date field. This is not always utilized, but if there is something that I need to do by a specific date, I will use it. But rather than that, I have a quarter field, which is roughly indicating at what part of the year I want to try to accomplish this by. Now, I haven't really gotten into the whole 12-week year, which I'm considering trialing this year, but this is kind of a similar concept. I will tag each of my goals with the quarter that I want to get it done by, and in a way, I am breaking up my year into 12 weeks. I will often write a ton of notes under each goal card throughout the year, usually in the regular check-ins that I do, which I will talk about next, but there is really, it's pretty free flow. I can put anything in there that I would like to. Something fun that I do is have a mini challenges column. Now, this isn't really goals. It is, again, just challenges, something that works really well for me because I am a very, very goal-driven person. Sometimes I like to set up fun activities for myself to see if I can do them. So this could be, 30 days of running 5 kilometers a day, which I've done many, many times now, and that's really fun. I think last year I had a challenge which I failed at, which was post twice a week on YouTube for 1 month, but I'll basically try and gamify some of the goals that I have for myself. And then, of course, I have a smashed column. These are the goals that I have done and dusted, and there is nothing more satisfying, for me at least, than crossing something out or moving it over to the done column. Now, I have a different view for my goals, which is by quarter. So as you can see, I have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. My Notion goal setting template is available for you to download should you want to. So I will leave a link to that below and up above. So feel free to check that out if you would like. Otherwise, it's something you can totally create by yourself as well. Notion is super easy to start using. Now, step number 4 is to leverage your calendar to assist you in achieving certain goals. So where I have goals that I need to be prompted to do something on a regular basis, for example, investing, right? Putting money into the stock market every month or every 2 weeks. I have used my Google Calendar to set up a recurring invite to make sure I do that. I also have recurring invites, for example, for doing my monthly reviews with my goals, because for me, doing the monthly goal reviews are very much a part of achieving the goals themselves. Now, because I use Notion, I can also sync my Notion with my Google Calendar, which just makes the two work seamlessly together. As much as I live in my Notion, I also very much live in my calendar, and my calendar is usually the thing that is driving my day-to-day schedule. So I will think about the goals that I have in Notion that I can break down into recurring or regular reminders and events to just make sure they are seamlessly integrated into my daily and weekly workflow. So for step 4, think about if there is anything like this for you. It doesn't have to be a Google Calendar. Maybe use a physical wall calendar, maybe use a reminders app, whatever it is. Just think about any other tools that you could use that can assist you with further breaking down the big goals that you've put into your tracking system. Number 5 is monthly check-ins. Now, what is a check-in? A check-in is basically checking in on my goals that I committed to in that Notion board regularly. Regularly for me is monthly. Also, I do it more often than that on an ad hoc basis, but more formally, it is monthly at the start or end of every month. In each monthly review, I will read through all of the goals that I entered at the start of the year. I will update the status of each goal if it needs to be updated, and if the status hasn't really changed, or if I have some additional commentary to make about it for me to look back on, I will put a comment in the actual Notion card. So for example, it could just be a small reflection on how I'm feeling about achieving that particular thing. So if one of my goals is to invest regularly in the stock market, but I haven't really been doing that, maybe I have some thoughts on why I haven't been doing that, or what I might be struggling with in that respect. And vice versa, if I'm doing really well on something, I might comment something really positive that I can then look back on and think, wow, I did really, really great on this particular thing. So just maybe a little bit of like a digital journal within each goal is what I do monthly. There are no rules. It's just about how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'm feeling super reflective and I have a lot to say. Other months, it's just flicking through and being like, yeah, okay, everything looks fine. Other months, I have goals to move over to the done column. Some months, I will change some goals that, like I said, no longer align with me. And I think that is a very, very important part of achieving your goals. It is making sure they are always aligned with you, because you're going to change as a human being through the course of 12 months. So it is totally fine for your goals to reflect that. Something I'm thinking about doing this year is having a bit of a monthly template. Nothing crazy, but maybe 3 or 5 questions that I consistently ask myself every single month when I'm reviewing those goals or something like that. But I naturally tend to do that anyway. But yeah, I think whatever your form of monthly check-ins is, I think it is incredibly important for you to set a time for yourself to intentionally check in with where you are at. There is no point in writing goals at the start of the year and not looking at them until December. There is also no point in sticking to the goals that no longer align with you and serve you, so don't be afraid to strip them back. And there is a hell of a lot of value in celebrating when you have achieved something, so give yourself that kudos. I get a bit of an adrenaline kick, I'm not lying, when I move cards over, and it just helps me keep moving through the year. Monthly check-ins are also a really, really good way for you to just reset if you haven't been progressing well, or if you aren't exactly where you thought you would be by the time you get to May or August. It is fine. Use the start of a new month as a reset. Just because 3 months have gone by and you haven't made as much progress, don't ruin all of the upcoming months. Use each monthly check-in as a reset. And this is also why I love the monthly resets, because they are a great way for you to just mimic the start of something new. We always think about the start of something new as like the start of a new year when it comes to goal setting, but it absolutely does not have to be. I did a whole spiel on this, by the way, on this video here. So go and watch that because I talk about it more. And step number 6 is my daily life planning. So the Notion and the goal tracking system is very much at like a life/year level. I then break that down to quarters so I can have a target for when I want to achieve those yearly or life goals. But then on a daily basis, I also do something extra because this is just how I function. Now, my Notion is definitely my digital life, but it's where I kind of house everything. It's not what helps me run my life on a daily or weekly basis. I run a little bit off my Google Calendar, but I also have a physical planner. Now, I haven't actually unboxed my 2025 planner yet, which I might do right now. I have been using this planner for probably 4 years. It is my absolute favorite planner ever. And let me tell you a little bit about how I use it. On a weekly and daily basis, I love just scribbling things down. This planner does have an annual and quarterly goal spread, but I personally love to use it mostly for the monthly planner, which is then also broken down into a weekly and daily planner. The weekly, you can see here, you can write down your focus for the week, your priorities for the week, any reminders, any sort of tasks that you want to get done. You can try and plan what your routine looks like for this week. And then, of course, each week is broken down per day and the tasks for each day. I also use this as kind of like a diary. So I will write things in here that aren't strictly to-dos. And yeah, this for me works really well in complement to my calendar and my Notion digital system. I know it sounds like a lot to have 3 different formats, but personally for me, this is what has always worked the best. And that is it for the goal setting system and routine that has quite literally never failed me. As you can see, there isn't anything super special or unique about what I do. The thing that makes it special and unique is that I stick to it. I have done so for almost 10 years and that I am really consistent with leveraging this approach to enable myself to achieve my goals. And if there is only one thing you take away from this video, let that be it. Find something that you can be consistent with, that you can go back to, that you want to go back to, and that you want to use. Because that could be the thing that really enables you and sets you up for success with achieving everything that you want to in 2025 and beyond. Let me know in the comments below what you do for goal setting, how you think about it. Are there any tools that you use? What has or hasn't worked for you? And what would you love to recommend to others? I think it could be a really fun conversation for us to have in the comments as we kick off another new year. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in my next video, but until then, keep smashing those goals and catch you then.